All right, so we are going to keep going with these tappet blocks and guides. I wanted to show you something so that you could get the orientation when it's laying on the table. I'm going to use this engine with these tappet blocks here, okay, or tappet guides, whatever you want to call them. And I'm looking at this engine from this side. So I am going to lay the tappets that I took off on the table in this position, and I will show you that in just a second. Before I do that, let me show you that this right tappet guide goes to the right cylinder, left tappet guide to the left cylinder. Okay, so here's the right tappet block, here's the left tappet block. The right cylinder would be up here where I showed you. The left cylinder is over here. So I laid these on the table exactly as if I was looking at the engine that I just showed you. This is the orientation that they would be in. So when I took these apart, what I did is I set them, you want to keep all your parts together. And maybe you do them one at a time if you want to take them apart, and I'm going to do this for just to be able to show you. This is if I'm looking down at this would be the right side of this block, this one would be the left side. If I'm looking over here, this one would be the left side of this block, this would be the right side of that block. So what I'm going to do, so the two inside ones are our intake valves, our two outside ones are our exhaust valves. So this is the exhaust valve for the front cylinder. This is the intake for the valves are actually up in the engine, but these are the lifter portion or the tappet lifter, both one and the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hydraulic unit out of the right side and I'm going to lay it to the right. I'm going to take the hydraulic unit out of the left side and lay it to the left. I'll do the same with the left or the rear. Right on the right, left on the left. And I'm going to separate them enough that I'm not going to get them messed up, because when I pick one, if they're both together and I pick one up and I go clean it and I come back and I think, oh shit, did it go here or did it go here? So I separate them to where I don't make that mistake. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to take the actual lifter or the tappet, whatever you want to call it, out. So I'm going to take the right tappet out of the tappet guide. And I'm going to actually set this camera up to where I can do this and show you. So bear with me just a second. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the front cylinder right exhaust tappet or lifter out. Just push it down, finger here. It typically is up in. I push it down, grab it, take it out, and I'm going to leave it to the right. I'll take the left one, pull it out. I will leave it to the left. Do the same to the rear cylinder. That one there is on the left-hand side. So I'll bring that on the left-hand side. This one's on the right-hand side. So there are our, oops, I'm going to kick the thing over. So there are our lifters or tappets taken out of our tappet guide or tappet block, laid in the order they came out, and our hydraulic unit that actually, I'll show you, once this fits up in, this hydraulic unit sets in there like that. Okay, so we've taken those apart. So I want to show you a few things. Number one, let's look at what do we want to do with the, we'll start at the bottom and work our way to the top. On the actual lifters or tappets, what I want to do is I kind of want to look on the inside for any wear, any grooves, lines, anything that doesn't look right. I'm going to look at the actual lifter itself, and I'm going to make sure that, and you'll see, I mean, this thing's went up hundreds of thousands of times, and we've got a little bit of wear here, all right? But no big scratches, scrapes. I'm not looking to make it perfect. I just want to make sure that it runs well. So I don't see any issues there. I want to check the actual roller itself to make sure I don't have any any movement up and down. I want that nice and tight, okay? We also want to look to the left and the right, make sure I don't have too much play to the left and right. And check to make sure that on the actual roller, that I clean this roller, and I kind of look to make sure that there's not any big grooves or there's not any, spots that are holes or nicks or cuts, things like that. So I'm happy with the way that looks. So that one I'm going to clean and we're going to put back in. So I'll do that to each one of these. This happens to be the one that you saw in the earlier video that I changed the actual roller. Now I do have one tappet and or lifter that's got a groove. Now, I don't know if you can see it. You're probably right there. See that couple little notches right here? So I'm not sure what happened. Something came loose back in the day, ate a little bit out. Deep in, it looks good. What I did, I looked at the hydraulic part of this, and it actually looked pretty good. So let's move to the actual lifter block. The lifter block, what I want to do there is, again, I want to kind of inspect it, make sure I don't have any cracks, anywhere, stress fractures, anything that looks bent, banged up. I'm also going to look on the inside to make sure that if we look down through, that I don't have any big scoring inside here. So, inspect that good. Once you inspect it, we want to clean it. Now, I'm going to clean it in solvent, etc., and I'm not going to show you how to do that. That's pretty self-explanatory. But what I do want to do is, if you look at the bottom of these, this here is the oil hole right here. And if I take a little piece of wire and put in that oil hole, it actually comes out right there. You can see that. I want to make sure that that oil passageway is clear. Okay, number one. I also want to make sure that the two oil passages that oil these lifters, one is right here. Okay, so I'm going to go down through this one. I'm going to make sure that that's open. There's nothing in there. I'm going to go down through this one on the opposite side. If I can't see the hole. Let me turn it around here. There you go. I can go down through, and I am going to see and I'm going to grab, I've got this bent a little bit so it's not coming through, but if I work that enough, I'm sorry, if I work this enough, That'll come through right there. Again, all I'm checking is these oil passageways. I want to make sure there's another one here, and this one attaches to this one over here, so I can get in so far, but I can't get in any farther than that unless there's a trick that I don't know about. So there you go. So I make sure that those are open. Once I'm sure that those are open, I'm going to take air, my air gun for my compressor with a rubber tip, and I'm going to put it on that hole, this little hole here, and the oil passage hole here, and make sure that they are all opened and nothing's clogged up. So once that's done, my tappet blocks are, I'm in a good spot. So I'll put that back the way it was. Then I'm going to move up to the hydraulic portion of these lifters. And took this one for the right, which will go into the right one, which is our exhaust, where our exhaust valves are above that. Our actual push rods are right here. But what we'll do is you can when they're together, you can go ahead and kind of twist and pull, and I can pull that portion out of that. Okay? So when you put that back in, all right, right now, if I push that down, because it's, here you go. You see how it won't stay in like this one is? Okay? So here's how you test these. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look and I'm going to make sure I don't have scoring around this whole thing. I'm going to make sure that this is good. There is a very fine, and I'll get what I'm using here is a torch tip. I'll take the smallest one, and right in the end of the top portion, the plunger portion, I'll lay that down, there is a very fine oil hole. And I don't know if you can see it, but if you can see it, there's a small oil hole, and I am going to make sure that that hole is open. Okay? And you can't go in too far, but you can make sure that there's not any dirt inside that. So that's the first thing. Check them for, make sure they're in good condition. Then what you want to do is take this portion of the hydraulic unit, stick it back in, and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to squeeze it down until this spring goes all the way down. And I'm going to hold it for 6 seconds. Then I'm going to let it loose. And if it pops back up, my ball and seat and everything is in good shape. So I know that it's doing its job. So what I'll do next, and then how I get it to actually stay down, is I'll push the ball from the bottom. There's another hole here you want to make sure is opened. Right here. I'll stick that in here. And I'll push that ball up a little bit, and you'll see that I'll very easily be able to push that back down. Okay? So I'll do that to each of the hydraulic units. So this hydraulic unit, these three happen to be, I can push the spring down. This one here, I can push the spring down. Okay, push the spring down, hold it down for 6 seconds. let it up. If it springs back up like that, I'm in good shape. Again, there it is. Push it down, hold it. If it springs back up, I'm good. To get it to seat again, I'll come up through, push the ball in, and that'll come right out. Now, some of the times you're going to have one like this that still is hydraulically, still has oil in it. So when I look at this one, okay, I can't push the spring in. So for me to test this one, first I have to separate it. So I'm going to take the pressure off of it so that I can separate it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to push this ball in. And you see the oil coming out? I think, well, you can't when I'm not in the film. See the oil on my finger there? So I'm going to put this down here where you can maybe see it. And I'm going to push this, let me get set down here. I'm going to push this against that. Push this down. And I don't know if you can see the oil dripping out, but if I push that down, now I can push this spring. You see the oil that's coming off of it? So what I'm doing is I'm bleeding the hydraulic, the oil, from this hydraulic piston. See if you can see. Let me I'll put this down, push this down. Maybe I can show it. And then see if you can see the oil coming out. There you go. So you can see the oil in my hand. So I just bled and relieved the pressure and the oil from this hydraulic unit. Now I can push that in. Now I should be able to grab this and kind of spin it and pull this apart. And I might need to, again, get rid of, if it's a little too hard, I'm going to do this. Kind of get rid of the oil that's in it. And now I was able to twist it and pop it and pull it right out. Now I'll take this one, put it back in, hold this down for 6 seconds. And if it pops back up, it's good. Again, for me to seat it, all you do is take a wire or something to stick up, push up the ball, and push that back down. So that's how you know, and I want to make sure, again, all the holes in the bottom are open, hole up here is open, and that they're not marred up. And that is how you check your lifters or tappets, your tappet guide or tappet block, lifter block, and your hydraulic units to before you reassemble. So what I'll do now is I'm going to clean everything up. I'm going to clean it up with solvent. I've got kerosene, I use, works well. Maybe some little spray bottle of my handy dandy rubbing alcohol, which is cheap. Get it at Dollar General for next to nothing. It's a lot cheaper than, carb cleaner or something like that. And then once I get these all back together, I'll put on some assembly lube so that they're lubed up. I'll put everything back together, and then we'll start to put these back in the bike. So anybody has any comments, please feel free to leave a comment. Line me out on something I missed, and we'll catch you on the next video. Enjoy your evening.